Hello, and welcome to Sleepy Joe 2 Listens to the Radio. I've got the radio in the background, so hopefully I don't get flagged for copyright. Shouldn't, it should be pretty quiet. Excuse me. Now this is 7.1 Test 1, which means things are likely to change in future tests. So do not take this as what the tanks will be, just take them as kind of a guideline. Now the French only have a medium/light tree and a heavy tree. Now I say medium/light because they have a tier 7 light tank, which is this thing right here, the AMX 1390, and I'll talk about that later. Their first tank, the Renault FT, is, well, it's a tier 1. With 7.1, they have introduced both magazine-loaded guns and drum-loaded guns. I have not actually played with the magazine-loaded guns, but they're similar to the drum-loaded guns, as in, for instance, this cannon here would have, I don't know how many shells. They should put that in the stats, but they don't. I'll probably recommend they do that. But for instance, some of the lower level guns, like this tier 2 gun, could potentially have a 15 round magazine, so you fire off 15 rounds in quick succession, and then you have to reload your magazine. It's basically like a standard rifle or machine gun or something like that, SMG. And that continues for the first couple of tiers, and then they get into standard style guns. I believe the AMX 40 here actually continues. No, it uses a standard style gun. So the middle tiers of French aren't all that particularly interesting, especially on the heavy side. For instance, all the way down to the AMX M4, the tier 7 heavy here, you have standard guns. They don't have any magazines, they don't have a drum or anything like that. And they're still relatively squishy. The only one that's not squishy is this tier 6, which I believe is OP, so it'll probably get nerfed in some way or another. Mainly because it gets these ridiculous guns with 236 pin and 7 damage. A little bit crazy. And before we continue on, the way you can tell if a tank is drum loaded on the French tree is whether or not it has a turret upgrade. All of the drum-loaded tanks do not have a turret upgrade, which means this AMX-12T, which is a tier 5 light tank, is in fact a drum-loaded vehicle. Most of the drum-loaded guns are a 6-round drum, so you fire 6 times with about 1 to 2 seconds between shots, and then you have a very long reload. For instance, the 90 or 100mm have about a 30 to 40 second reload. And those are going to be your tier 8 or up guns, etc. I believe the 120mm, which is the tier 10 here, has some ridiculous like 50-second reload on the drum. So if you get caught out, you're pretty much screwed. Now all of these tanks are extremely squishy, like I said before. The tier 9 medium here has 60 front armor, 40 side, 30 rear. Turret is 15 rear. So you have no armor. Don't angle it. It doesn't fucking matter. You're gonna get penetrated, as long as it's not like some ridiculous shot where it like skims off your turret or something. Having said that, there is a very small chance to bounce things off of your turret due to the slope, and I'm going to show you the slope on my Lorraine 40T here. You can see there it's actually got a pretty high slope on this part here. Now it's only got 45 armor there, so you're not going to bounce the big guns, but it is possible to bounce things. This tank also kind of has a wedge shape style IS-3 thing. You have 40 front armor, it's not going to fucking do anything, so don't worry about that. But they're all extremely fast. The Bat Chitlin here, otherwise known as Bat Chat 25T, is, let's see, what's its speed? 65, and it keeps that speed basically constantly. The Lorraine 40T keeps its 60km speed constantly, and so on down the line. The tier 7 light tank is at 64 speed. Kind of negates the point for a tier 5 light other than tier limited company battles. If you're gonna use a light in Clan Wars, you may as well use the AMX 1390, but there's really no reason to use a light in Clan Wars, so yeah. But on to the heavies here. We have standard heavies. The BDR is an interesting one, simply because it's, well, look at it. It doesn't look all that strange here, but it's very, very small. 60 and 70 front armor, not too bad, but it's tier 5, so you know you're gonna penetrate that relatively easily. But it's very small. You can't see it in that picture. And I can't buy it because I don't have it unlocked. I could unlock it, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I could. But I'm saving that for EXP. The ALR 44 I've already talked about. It's a very good tank. It'll probably be nerfed. The AMX M4 I have not actually played myself, obviously, and Doom does not have it bought. I'm pretty sure he skipped over that to the AMX 5000 on free XP. He spent like 30,000 on free XP. It's a little ridiculous. But it gets the 90mm down here, which is probably my favorite gun for most of the tree. It is drum loaded on most tanks. This tank is not drum loaded. As you see, it has a turret upgrade. It's a good hint, not drum loaded. Also, all of the drum loaded tanks have the turret style that's similar to this one. The gun does not go up and down, the entire turret goes up and down. This means you have extremely limited gun depression and gun whatever up is called. Anti-depression, I guess. I don't know. You can't raise your gun very high and you cannot lower your gun very far because the whole turret moves. This entire chunk here moves. As you can see, it's hinged right there on both sides. Which is an interesting style but it's kind of ineffective. But they get drum-loaded guns, so they make up for it. And then you have the first drum-loaded heavy tank, which is the AMX 5100, which is basically a Lorraine 40T with more front armor and without the pike nose. It has 90 front, again, side and rear is nothing. But it gets the 100mm SA-47, which is the upgrade to the 90. Slightly less pin, slightly more damage, a longer drum load. I believe it has the same accuracy, yeah, well, potentially the same accuracy. And a slightly lower aim time, which is interesting. The bigger gun has a longer aim time. All of the, well, the majority of the French guns are very thin-barreled. I don't know if that affects the armoring on the gun, how easily they break, but they are very thin. The 100mm basically looks the same as a 90, which looks the same as a 70 on every other tree. And then we have the AMX 5120, which is 100 armor, and it's got the pike nose that the Russian tanks like to use. It's actual pike nose this time instead of a rounded. And it gets the 120 and a decent amount of speed. Basically, the heavy tanks are mediums, and the medium tanks are mediums, and the light tanks are mediums. So if you like mediums, you'll probably like French tanks. They all go fast, they all turn fast, they're all lightly armored, and they all get really deadly guns. Extremely deadly guns. Like, let's look at this 120. 280 pin, or 352 if you're using golds. HE on these tanks is fairly ineffective, but HE from any gun to a French tank is going to be highly effective because of the lack of armor on these sides. A KV-152 is nearly capable of one-shotting most of these tanks all the way up to tier 10. Because it penetrates, which is interesting. But you have 400 damage and 0.3 accuracy. This is a highly accurate gun, 400 damage a shot, and it shoots 6 times in rapid succession. So you have the potential to do 2400 damage per drum, average, which means you're dishing out a ton of damage very quickly. But then you have, it says up here, the fire rate 5.58 rounds per minute. That includes the drum reload time, and considering you fire 6 rounds in like 10 seconds, you have a very long 50-second to a minute-long drum reload, I believe. I think it's 50 seconds actually, I'm not sure. Something around there. And then we had the AMX 50B, which is actually highly armored. 230 front armor and 100 on the turret. Turret's not very armored, but it's got a nice slope. The entire front of the 50B has a nice slope. But I've seen them get pinned a lot, so I'm not exactly sure what that 230 is. Because they get pinned by all sorts of stuff with like 200 pin, so I'm not sure about that. But they get the 120 with a faster fire rate. They get 65 speed, and they maintain that speed due to this engine here, 1200 horsepower, and it only weighs 68 tons. So it can pretty easily maintain that speed. It's got crazy acceleration. It's basically what the IS-7 should be, with a bigger gun. Keep this in mind though, French tanks cannot be killed 1 versus 1, assuming equal tiers. Actually, even 2 tiers below, they probably can't be killed 1v1, unless you catch them without a full drum, and then they're kind of screwed. You basically have to force them to fire all or most of their rounds before you even can engage them, or you can just overwhelm them. By the time they die, though, they have the potential to kill at least one of the people who are trying to help you, or potentially damage all of you at the same time. So do not go 1v1 against French tanks when they come out. They are currently scheduled for January. They were December, but they've been having some sort of issue with the Russian website and the test server, which has been down for a while. And having said that, I am going to play one match in my Lorraine 40T to give you kind of an example of what it is that French tanks do. Now keep in mind, this is the test server. I will not be using gold ammo. Some of these people probably are. It doesn't matter. But that also means there's going to be a lot of people in tanks that don't really know what they're doing, like me, because I got this Lorraine 40T in like 20 fights or something ridiculous, so I'm not particularly sure what I'm doing, but I'll see you when this match loads here. Alright, there we go. So the Lorraine 40T is actually a large vehicle, and I'm getting some frame rate lag a bit there. Do not appreciate that. I'm pretty sure I didn't lower my settings before I started this, so we're just gonna have to deal with it. So there's the Tier 5 light, the 12T right there. There's the M4 we saw earlier, and there's the Tier 7 light directly in front of us. There's a Russian being retarded. It's always good. They like to do that, and it's cool. And there's the ARL 44 over there. You can see it right there, with its gun pointing straight down. It's a good tank. And as you can see, for a tank so large, this thing is very maneuverable. And everyone appears to be going through the middle. So this is going to go poorly, so I'm actually going to stop, and you can see how long I've been reloading, by the way, because I'm still reloading. I'm going to stop and actually wait to see if anyone else comes over here, because I cannot take this side by myself. You will get swarmed, and you can see that's how far up the gun goes, right there. So if you're on a slope, you have to keep that in mind. You can't aim up very high, and the gun depression is basically nothing. It's that is how far down the gun goes. So you really can't shoot down, and you can kind of shoot up. That's the gun depression right there. You can't shoot over hills or anything like that due to that. But you do dish out some crazy damage, which I hopefully can show you. My team appears to be faffing, so I don't know how well this is going to work. But you can see they're very quick, they're very nimble. They do not get rammers, I forgot to mention that. None of the drum-loaded guns get rammers. But you can see I can quickly fire multiple shots off, which scares the crap out of everyone because of the damage it does. Keep in mind, once again, I have no armor, so I'm just going to trade shots at everything, and this guy behind me is not going to die because this Type 59 is terrible. Seriously, Type 59, what are you doing? But now I have to reload, so I'm just going to go ahead and just back up in hopes of not dying, which I probably will because of that stupid Type 59. If you see a French tank backed up like this, assume it is reloading and assume it will not help you, because I am incapable of helping him. He's incredibly retarded anyway, but you could see the pure damage I dished out in that small amount of time there, and then I have to reload for basically the rest of time. And I am one shot from death, so I gotta be careful here. I'm hoping this guy learns how to play the game, that would be fantastic, but it doesn't look like he will. And this T-34 is actually flanking us. Yep. And thanks to my terrible gun depression, he actually has the potential for an advantage here. So I have to be careful. Because I cannot aim down, so I have to wait for him to come up to me or risk getting shot. He's not looking at me, but... The other T-34 ran to our base, so I'm not worried about him. Is he looking the other way? He's looking the other way. Do not ignore French tanks. They hurt a lot. This thing does 200 something damage, I think. No, this is the 100mm, so this does 300 damage per shot. Also, for those of you who have not noticed, down here, the ammo, you can see 4 out of 6. That's how many rounds are in the drum, and the total drum capacity. So you don't have to manually keep track of how many rounds you have, or anything like that. Can't see him, and I don't want to get shot, so I'm going to move. Wait for this Type 59 to do something useful. I'm bound to get shot here in a second, so... Yeah, there's a Tiger II right there. And I'm just going to unload ammo into the side of these people. And back up because that guy's looking at me. That's not good, and this Type 59's doing something. Now I only have 2 shots left, which is very risky to be anywhere with only 2 shots left. So I'm going to fire these 2 and then just back up around this corner here. And reload. And hope that Type 59 doesn't get killed, which he probably is. At this point I'm just using him to distract people. Kill this 13. He's not killing 13. There he goes. Okay, I'm still reloading though. And our team is losing horribly. And this Tiger is moving up. And I can't back up because there's people in the middle. So I'm kind of screwed. I'm just gonna wait here. See if they'll come around the corner to me. If you can make the enemy miss, or if you can just absorb 1 shot, you can dish out a huge amount of damage. Especially if you know how to track people, which I have a tutorial up that kind of demonstrates how to track people. So good stuff like that. I'm horribly screwed. I'm not here? No. Where did that Tiger go? He knows I'm here. Curses! I have been spotted. He can't shoot me though, and I'm dead. Fire, fire, fire. I have a small chance of surviving. And then there goes that chance of surviving. It would leave him at 1. That's like 0% health, man. Come on, he has no health bar. That is bollocks right there. But there's French tanks. I'm gonna see if we have. Yeah, we have an M4 that we can watch here. He's not exactly doing very well. Yeah, I think he just bounced off the T-34, so he's screwed. That VK is retarded because he's sitting out in the open getting shot in the side here. By a French tank nonetheless, so there goes all of his health to a light tank as he proceeds to miss. Yeah, if you're gonna play a VK-45B, do not point your side at anything if you can help it. And this guy is gonna, because the front armor, by the way, is incredibly good, this guy's gonna die eventually. And he's dead. So there's my demonstration of French tanks. There will be some more videos, probably with or without... I got sniper, sweet. Probably with commentary with Doom, more than likely, I'm not sure though. Or it could be without commentary. But I hope you enjoyed my kind of demonstration of this. Hopefully the radio wasn't too loud. If it was, I'm going to have to edit that down and stuff. Actually, before this ends, Doom is going for the AMX-50B and I'm going for the Batchat 25. So we have the potential to see both lines without excuse me, without a whole bunch of effort. And I will see you guys next time.